Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Tales from the Cartridge. I am one of your co-hosts, Eric Penrod.
And I am your other co-host, Ryan Bauer.
Ryan, we did it. We finally have a guest on the show.
We did it. We've convinced somebody. We've tricked somebody into coming onto our show.
All the money in the world couldn't get someone on, but man, we did it. We did it. So today our special guest is my cousin of 28 years, Adam Johnson. Adam, how are you, and what have you been playing?
I'm doing all right. I'm just hanging out at home, working from home. I've been playing a variety of a couple of games. Desperados 3 and I think Hell Let Loose, which is it's a first-person shooter. So a variety of games in my downtime. Mostly PC, though.
Mm-hmm. Master Race.
Something like that. What about you guys?
I'm doing good. Enjoying the crisp fall air that has finally arrived, and I've been playing a bit of Valhalla. I got Valhalla for my PC, and it looks gorgeous. England has never looked more beautiful. So I've been playing with that. Again, popping back into Crusader Kings whenever I can because I love it so much and just never have enough time to play it. And then a bit of Animal Crossing, a bit of Hades, the usual 3, with just an addition of Valhalla. What about you, Eric? How are you, and what have you been playing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm also good. I'm glad we were all doing so good. It's about another week of work. I did like a week-long training. My brain is like so fried. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm getting old or something. I just can't do it anymore. And plus we had to do like act in front of other people, and my anxiety like skyrockets, Like
Oh, no.
As a therapist, I love having a closed door and just one person to talk to, but when there's, a room full of people and I have to talk, like, I don't know, I struggle a lot. but survived it. I did it. I'm proud of myself. As for games, I haven't played a whole lot. I actually jumped back into Animal Crossing last night for the first time since Halloween night, because Adam had to get some fruit, which was fun. So many weeds. But I have been playing the heck out of No More Heroes, the first one. I am like super just addicted to it all over again. And I love it. I love that I've gone back to play it because now that I'm a little bit older, I played it like 10 years ago. So now I'm a little bit older. I'm kind of seeing, or maybe this is like the therapist in me. I'm seeing like this character has like, I think, grand illusions of what's really happening in this world. I feel like this game is so wacky and everywhere that it makes literally no sense unless like this person was like just not there fully, So it's kind of fun to play these games again and from a new perspective. Yeah, so I'm going on a tangent. But yeah, so No More Heroes is what I've been playing. But overall, that's pretty much it. But yeah, so Storygoers, as usual, you can write in with your thoughts, feelings, and perspectives. We have one today. I totally forgot. Yes, we have a thoughts, feelings, and perspective.
Chris LaForce
is
back.
Wrote to us again. He's awesome.
The return of LaForce.
Everyone else is really slacking. You kind of have to get on Chris's level here because it's a little embarrassing for you, Storygoer, listening to this if you're not Chris LaForce. So yeah, Chris LaForce wrote in to us about The Secret of Monkey Island. He goes, "Hey friends, it's your number one favorite emailer. Just listened to Monkey Island and it was awesome. While I didn't play it myself, the first games I remember playing were the King's Quest series on floppy. So the point-and-click games hold a special place in my heart." Did you guys ever play King's Quest?
I had not.
I have not, no.
No, I haven't heard of it either. But it's cool. I mean, the 90s are just, I feel like, full of games I just never played. So, like...
I've heard of King's Quest and I've seen it. It's this, like, super interesting... Like, it's like a cartoon playing out and you have choices, I think. But it's I think, even before our time.
Interesting. He continues, "When Halloween swings back around, I would definitely recommend The Last Door for a nice spooky indie pick." Oh, cool. Thank you. I'm actually super excited for Halloween all over again. I feel like that was like my favorite time recording this show. My question to you guys is, do you prefer the original style of these graphic adventure games or the updated hand-drawn style that seems to be happening to their remasters? Awesome question. Actually, Ryan, you touched a little bit on this during our Monkey Island episode.
Yeah, I did. I think it's kind of a personal taste. The problem with the pixelated versions are beautiful and magical in their own way, but the gameplay becomes such a challenge when you're kind of end up being pixel hunting, when you're just kind of clicking wildly along the screen because you can't really make out what's there. But I think there's a charm to that, and especially if you've played it in that version, that nostalgia is there. So I certainly think check out both. With the Monkey Island, like I said, you can switch between them like whenever you want, which is really cool. I personally think I prefer the updated art style, but I didn't play the original, so I don't think I have that. It doesn't have a special place in my heart in the same way.
Yeah. And do you play a lot of point and clicks?
Not so much anymore. So I guess I can't comment too much, but I think it's the in the same vein of when Link's Awakening came out. You can go back and see the different art styles, but yeah, I can't really comment because I don't play point and click all that much.
Yeah, I didn't play point and clicks a whole lot either, honestly, and I kind of regret that I didn't. It's a style of game I don't give enough credit for. And it's one that I don't ever have a lot of motivation to go to. But I guess if I had to pick, I would pick the hand-drawn style only because I love art a lot in games. It's kind of what drives me to want to play a game sometimes, just the art. And like Ryan said, Ryan makes a great point. It's all pixelated. It's so hard to kind of differentiate what one thing is from another. But there's a kind of just classic feel to that original style. It's very cool. So either one is really nice, but I would probably go hand-drawn over anything. Chris continues. Anyway, great episode. The collection of voices was awesome, and I love the new sound effects you included. Ryan, you did that, and you did awesome.
I did, thanks. Yeah.
And I literally had to go through and show my girlfriend the dialogue part with the old man and the sword master, because I literally I thought that's the funniest line in the whole game. You're lost, baby. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Chris continues. It makes the episode even more transporting. If you don't mind a little feedback, I did have trouble hearing the narration over the sounds sometimes. So I think raising the narration while lowering the sounds just slightly would be a big help. But the character dialogue was perfect. Yeah, and that was our first go around doing all the sound effects. So I'm actually super proud with how it turned out.
Yeah.
And we'll get better every time doing it, I think.
Yeah, it's always a challenge balancing those the levels of the sound effects, and especially if you added some of that ambiance sound, making sure that doesn't overbear the voice. It's kind of tedious, but yeah, it certainly, I think as we get better at it, it'll be easier, and I'm positive there's systems, if we knew Audacity better, to automate that or to set levels in a certain way.
Yeah. So Chris ends, he goes, keep up the great work. Excited for your first guest, Chris, which is what we have on today. Adam.
We're excited too.
Yeah. He goes, P.S. Seriously, thank you so much for the Extra Life contribution. It was incredible. And we donated to Chris's and his co-host Hanny's podcast, The First Encounter. Is a podcast focused solely on one person, who's Chris, is a Final Fantasy VII lover. He's played the game. Hanny has never really heard about it. He's never played the game before, and so they're playing through the game together and kind of gain a perspective of someone who loves the game and someone who's just learning about the game and going through it. It's a fantastic podcast. If you haven't heard it,
cool idea.
Yeah, it's great. I love it a lot. So we donate to them. And Storygoers, if you haven't yet, Extra Life is kind of going on around everywhere right now on Twitch and on podcast services. So if you haven't yet and you have a few extra bucks, I know times are tough right now. I would really encourage some donation, because all the kids out there really need it right now.
Yeah, it's a great cause.
Yeah, great cause. So yeah, other side notes. So like I was saying before I totally went off on a tangent there. Storygoers, you could be as cool as Chris LaForce, because not only does he have a really cool last name, but he has also written in twice. You can bring in your thoughts, feelings, and perspectives at talesfromthecartridge@gmail.com. All of the E's are threes. Adam, does that make sense when I say all the E's are threes?
Yes, it does.
Okay. It sucks that we can't get the actual one.
Yeah, when you created the podcast, you were explaining it to me. So for me, I understand.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay, that's true. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. DM us. Let us know what you think about the episodes that we are going to cover and that we have already covered, and we'll happily read those on the podcast. Also, one more housekeeping. We just released our first Tales from the Cartridge Bedtime Stories episode.
Yes.
Yeah, as a cold launch. We weren't really planning on it to actually happen. But we had a little bit extra time on our hands and tried it, and it was just a lot of fun to do. And man, does the music just it's my favorite music I think we have.
I think so too. I think it's mine too.
It's so good.
I was listening to it yesterday. My girlfriend was playing Valhalla on the computer, and I was on the couch behind her just listening, calmly dozing off to the absolute zen state that it puts you in. It was really wonderful.
Awesome, good. I'm glad you say that. I was really proud of how it turned out. So that's going to happen at least once a month. If we have time, maybe twice.
Yeah.
But our first episode is part 1 of Mario 64. We're keeping the episode short, so it's going to be a 3-parter. When Mario he deals with the main level of the floor of the castle. Part 2 will be down in the basement, and then part 3 will be the upper levels. And so yeah, it should turn out, hopefully, fingers crossed, well. And then from there we'll move forward. I think we're going to focus more on games. I mean, I don't know if I talked to you about this yet, right?
Yeah,
This
we
is my
chatted a
ideal
little bit.
situation.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Focus more on games that don't have like a story per se. It's more of like a gameplay aspect, which I think really works well for a bedtime story.
Yeah.
So you can kind of describe the actions of the characters more, and you can kind of imagine that as you fall asleep. It'll be great.
Very nice, like ASMR experience.
Yeah,
exactly.
As you listen to our sweet and savory voices.
That's exactly
Sultry.
what I was saying there yesterday, Eric. To start whispering into
you
a
said
microphone.
that, yeah. All right, so let's jump in to the background of this game. Ryan, do you want to kind of run us through some of the background stuff for Uncharted?
Yeah, I would love to. So Uncharted released in November 16th, 2007, not too long ago. It was developed by Naughty Dog and published by Sony Computer Entertainment. Written by Amy Hennig, Neil Druckmann, and Josh Scher. Josh is the only one I don't know super well. I know Amy has had her own experiences and she's gone off to do other things, and Neil is still holding strong at Naughty Dog.
Yeah. I think it wasn't Josh maybe the co-person at Naughty Dog and he left. I feel like that's true, and I don't really want to look it up, to be quite honest.
Yeah. But yeah, made by Naughty Dog, makers of like Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Dexter, which I think we talk a little about in the influences.
Yeah. So for the influences, after Jak 3, and I remember Jak 3. I actually didn't play it, but I remember that coming out and being like a bigger deal. So Naughty Dog assembled most of their technically talented staff and began to work on Drake's Fortune, which was under the codename Big for some reason. Probably because it was a huge game for them at the time. The company decided to create a whole new IP. Rather than working on another Jak and Dexter, they wanted to create something that's more suitable for the next gen, so that's PlayStation 3 at the time. And to create something that was more realistic with human characters instead of like stylish ones like from Jak and Dexter. They thought that Uncharted would kind of bring this fresh and interesting feel. And although they kind of they termed it stylized realism, which makes sense. I think you see that in the game too. It's very stylistic in its own sense. Inspirations were drawn from various sources, such as Indiana Jones and National Treasure, which like totally makes sense.
Yeah, for
when
sure.
you see the game, it just feels just like Indiana Jones and National Treasure. And the team felt that the sources shared this like sense of mystery and what if scenarios that very like kind of romanticized action and aim to include all those concepts into the game Uncharted. Very cool stuff. I think Uncharted is really cool. Adam, you were the one that wanted to cover this story today. What is it about Uncharted that you love?
Uncharted, for me, was really one of the first games that I felt immersed in. And obviously I'd been a gamer for a very long time, but 2007, I'm in high school. I've always been a big Indiana Jones fan. I love adventure. I love, obviously, history and things like that. And Uncharted was really that game that kind of was able to take all of those bits and pieces of movies and games that I liked and put it into a singular story. And for me, I felt immersed in it. And, for me, my now wife is one of the only games that she'll actually sit and watch or interact with because it's an interesting storyline and it feels like you're playing in a movie. So I really have always liked Uncharted. Uncharted 3 is probably, if I were to pick a favorite game of all time, Uncharted 3 is that for me. I've always loved these games. Mm-hmm. When you ask me to come on and talk about a game, I was like, I think Uncharted is perfect for someone like me to at least have some sort of skin in the game and being able to talk with you guys about it. So yeah, I think that's why I picked it. It was able to really capture so many elements of things in pop culture that I enjoy. And they did a very great job. Obviously, Naughty Dog is great studios. So they always do for me.
Yeah. They got a little bit of flack from Last of Us 2, but hopefully all those stories aren't totally true.
I actually haven't played Last of Us 2 yet. My PlayStation died about a year and a half ago, and I'm waiting for the PS5. Right. But obviously we know how that's going right now.
Yeah, yikes. Yeah, that's going to be a while. Yeah, that sucks. And actually, when you mentioned that you wanted to do Uncharted, like I think Ryan and I both were like, yes, this is a great game to cover on this podcast. Like the story is so good. And storygoers, just for context too, Adam works in a museum, and he's super knowledgeable about history. So the fact that you wanted to play this game, Adam, makes so much sense because like history and you just go together hand in hand. So, and this game has, it's chock full of it.
Yeah.
I never used the word chock full before, but here we are. Ryan, what are your experiences with Uncharted and what are your feelings for it?
Yeah, so I love the Uncharted series. Similar to Adam, it came out when I was in high school. I'm pretty sure I played the second one first and then went back and played the first one. I don't think when the first one came out, either I didn't have a PlayStation 3 at the time because I've been always late to the PlayStation game. I always get a year or so after. So I didn't play the original Uncharted, but I went back after playing Uncharted 2 and loving it. For a lot of the same reasons, I also enjoy history. That action adventure piece is always really exciting. I love Indiana Jones. Pulp Fiction is just a really cool concept and idea, and getting to play around in history and these interesting settings are always really fun. Yeah, and similarly, the story, the characters are interesting and engaging, and they feel in some ways like fully formed humans that you like want to hang out with because they're just like fun and goofy and really lovable in a lot of ways. It's just a really great series. But I think my onboarding was Uncharted 2, and then I went back and replayed 1 years later. What about you?
Yeah, no, I actually am very similar to you, Ryan, and Adam too. But jumped on the boat, the Uncharted boat, on Uncharted 2, and worked my way back. And I remember I have such good fond memories of Uncharted, the series as a whole. Like, geez, on Uncharted 2, just playing multiplayer with you guys like every day after school, because man, that multiplayer is fantastic. But that's not what we're talking about right now. So I playing Uncharted 2 and I loved it. I knew I wanted to play Uncharted 1, and it was a little bit of like a weird experience going back to Uncharted 1. Is very different than Uncharted. Not very different, but just graphically it was very different. But man, that story was just as good, I feel like, as Uncharted 2. Maybe Uncharted 2 is slightly better, but Uncharted 1 is just such a great game. And I was telling this to Adam earlier. What Uncharted does really well is it takes real life history and it makes it fun for people who may not like history. It makes it easy to understand and easy to kind of digest. And I think it just does a great job in that aspect. Like, it doesn't make it confusing. Just going through the story again, I understood the setup that the writers were going for with Sir Francis Drake, and it was just such a really cool story. Melding history and fantasy kind of into one thing is a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to jump into the story. So, but before we jump in, do you guys have anything else you want to say about Uncharted?
No, I'm just really excited. I do remember this game after playing Uncharted 2 being a lot spookier, but we'll see if that holds.
I would say you're right.
Yeah, and just really quick, I think one of the things that, maybe Uncharted 1 doesn't get enough credit for is when you're playing it, and I was able to rewatch it because I haven't played it in a few years, like 5 or 6 years or so. You feel like you're on a U-boat. You feel like you're in a jungle. You feel like you're in with, walking around with Nathan Drake and Sully and all of them. So it's just the ability. Maybe like the PS3 was a great system, and when you're watching it again, it's you can obviously, there's some graphic, you can see just how dated the graphics are, but they did such a great job with pulling you into these sets and making you feel like you're there. So I think that's huge to me. So it was nice to go back and watch the game again.
And you just saying, going with Nathan Drake on this adventure, like, the characters themselves are so good in this series. Not only is the story good, but the characters are lovable, and you get invested with them very easily. Yeah. It works so well together. Like, there's really no negatives in terms of the story. I would say there's no negatives overall. Like, could things be better? Of course, anything could be better. But I think Uncharted is a very solid package all around.
Yeah, one of the things that I really like about Uncharted is when the side characters, i.e. Sully, Elena, all of them, when you're interacting with the world, they're interacting with how the player is interacting with the world. They're conversing in the game as you're going through it. So like I said, it's really immersive. No,
you're totally right. It's a lot better than if a character is just walking aimlessly behind you, because not only are they like following you, and it makes the immersion even better, they're also adding to that story. They're also asking questions to Nate, and Nate's responding back to them, or vice versa. They're adding on to this dialogue, to this narrative, while also adding to this gameplay, which is so cool. Like, I mean, I don't know, I can't really think of any other games at the time that did that. I'm sure there are, but at the time I feel like it wasn't as good as Uncharted was. And I could just be biased because we're talking about Uncharted right now. But yeah, no, I think you're totally right. In the vastness of the bottom of the ocean, a quote appears. There must be a beginning of any great matter, but the continuing unto the end until it be thoroughly finished yields the true glory. Sir Francis Drake, 1587. A stone coffin lays on the ocean floor, sand and barnacles decorated on its surface. Having finally found it, the coffin was collected and brought onto the ship resting on the surface above.
I'm here off the coast of Panama, where we've just discovered what we believe to be the coffin of the legendary explorer Sir Francis Drake, who was buried at sea 400 years ago.
The woman, dressed in scuba gear, records the outside of the coffin as a man in similar scuba gear uses a crowbar to open the coffin on one side. She has blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail. He has short brown hair spiked in the front.
Are you sure you want to be defiling your ancestors' remains like that?
The man laughs as she continues to record. You make it sound so dirty. Besides, I thought you didn't believe me. He continues to the other side of the coffin and begins to use the crowbar again.
Well, I did do my research, and apparently Sir Francis Drake didn't have any children.
Well, history can be wrong, you know? For example, you can't defile an empty coffin. The man is able to lift the top of the coffin off and reveals the secrets inside.
What the hell?
The body of Sir Francis Drake did not inhabit the coffin. Only sand and rocks rested inside, along with a small chest. Opening it, the man finds a small journal. He opens the journal and examines it, delight in his eyes as he smiles with happiness. You devil!
What is it? Come on, hold it up.
The man looks up quickly and pushes his hands into the camera's lens. No way. The deal is for the coffin, that's it.
Wait a minute, if the show hadn't funded this expedition, you wouldn't have...
Hey, you got your story, lady.
Look, Mr. Drake, you signed a contract. I have every right to see every single thing that...
Whoa. Could you hold that thought? Looking off in the distance, the man turns and begins to walk to one side of the boat, grabbing a walkie-talkie. Sully, we got some trouble. Hurried up.
Okay, what is going on?
Pirates.
Pirates?
Yeah, the modern kind. They don't take prisoners. He pulls up a white briefcase labeled N. Drake and opens it. Inside rests 4 handguns and ammo for each. Well, at least not male prisoners.
Wait, what are you talking about? Should we call the authorities or something?
That would be a great idea. But we don't exactly have a permit to be here.
What?
Yeah, so unless you want to end up in a Panamanian jail, we should probably handle this ourselves.
What's worse?
You obviously haven't been in a Panamanian jail. Do you know how to use one of these? The man hands her one of the 4 pistols, loaded and ready to shoot.
Yeah, it's like a camera. You just point and shoot, right?
Good girl. Here we go. The woman has fear in her eyes and uncertainty aching in her chest as she watches the pirates moving in closer and closer.
How did they find us out here?
These guys been tailing me for weeks. I thought I lost them.
So what'd you do to piss them off?
It's kind of a long story. The 2 take cover behind thick wooden boxes residing on their boat. The man begins to fire at the pirates.
These guys don't like you much, do they?
Less talking, more shooting. He continues to fire, bullets pushing into the skulls of the pirates. Hurry up, Sully!
They're climbing aboard!
The man rushes over to the pirate on board, quickly knocking them out. Oh no, you don't. Come on, Sully, where are you? They continue to fight for their lives, the pirates coming in waves.
Oh my god, Drake! That one's got some type of rocket launcher.
A pirate from one of their boats pulls out a rocket launcher and fires, destroying the cockpit of the boat. Whoa, okay, that's not good. Suddenly, as if from God themselves, a plane swoops in, firing on the pirates.
What's that?
Woohoo! All right, Sully! The woman looks at the boat on fire and gives a deep sigh.
I don't think I'm getting my security deposit back.
Calvary's here! The man says in delight, covering behind more boxes and crates and pirates coming to fire at him.
Oh, thank God.
The boat begins to rupture, flames flying up at them.
Oh no.
Ah, damn it. Whole ship's gonna blow, we gotta jump.
Yeah. Oh, wait!
What are you doing? The woman runs back, grabbing the camera she put down earlier.
Okay.
Now, come on! Go!
All right.
The 2 jump from the ship as it explodes into pieces. They come back up to the surface to find a seaplane resting on the ocean.
I can't leave you alone for a minute, can I?
The man in the seaplane, cigar lit and sitting in his mouth, looks down at the two in the water. His silver hair slicked back, and a confident smile showed prominently. I had everything under control until they blew up the boat. You all right?
Nothing years of therapy won't fix.
Well, if it isn't the beautiful and talented Elena Fisher.
The woman, Elena Fisher, climbs inside the plane first.
Flattery will get you screen time.
Yeah, I'm more behind-the-scenes kind of guy. Victor Sullivan.
Oh.
Oh, for Christ's sakes. The man climbs inside the seaplane. What do you say we get out of here, before we attract more attention? The seaplane lifts off and flies into the air, the three now safely in the sky.
Well?
A little present from Sir Francis. Nate hands the journal to Sully.
So you found the coffin? Wait a minute, is that what I think it is?
Drake's lost diary. He faked his death, like I said, Sully. He must have been onto something big.
Yeah, well, let's keep that between us.
Thanks for the loan, Mr. Drake. I think I've earned a look at that diary when we land.
The man with the spiked brown hair, named Nathan Drake, stares at his cigar-smoking partner, Victor Sullivan, known as Sully by his friends. Not sure what to say to Elena Fisher. The three land sometime later on an unknown tropical shore. Small huts built near the shoreline. Nate and Sully, both inside a boat, discuss the journal found in Sir Francis's coffin while Elena is pacing on the dock, talking on the phone. Okay, so look. When Drake sailed into the Pacific, he took the Spanish fleet completely by surprise. He captured their ships, he took all their maps, their letters, their journals, and recorded everything in this diary.
Uh-huh. So this?
But when he got back to England, Queen Elizabeth confiscated all of his charts and logbooks, including this one, and then swore his entire crew to silence.
Yeah, so this...
You see, Drake discovered something on that voyage, Sully. Something so secret and so valuable, they couldn't risk it getting out. Nate spoke to Sully with passion about the journal. Around Nate's neck rested a necklace made from leather lace with a ring knotted on it.
All right, Nate, just pretend for a minute that I really don't care about any of that stuff and cut to the chase, would you?
A man only interested in the climax. You must be a real hit with the ladies.
Never had any complaints.
Okay then, I'll jump to the good part just for you. Nate opens Sir Francis Drake's journal and puts it on the table in front of Sully. The page laid open for Sully showed a small map labeled El Dorado.
El goddamn Dorado.
He was on to something big, all right.
Does it say anything else?
Oh, so now you're interested, huh?
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, no. The last page was torn out. I'm telling you, Sully, though, this is it. This is finally it.
Yeah, only we got one problem.
Sully points to Elena outside, still talking on the phone.
Yeah, that's what I said. It blew up. It sank. No, that's why we have insurance, right? Oh. Oh no, the camera. No, the camera's fine. Don't worry about the camera, no. Still as good as new.
Sully, the girl can hold her own. You should have seen her.
Fine. You go on out there and you tell her, we just found the lost city of gold. Maybe her producer can get it on the air tonight.
Oh, come on.
Nate, do you trust me?
More or less.
Good, because we're going to have every two-bit scumbag in the world racing us to this treasure unless we cut her loose right now.
You're a real gentleman, Sully, Nate says sarcastically.
I know. It stinks. She'll get over it.
I don't care if we're over budget. I mean, do you realize this could be like the biggest story of the year?
Elena turns awkwardly and meets eyes with Sully, who is still inside the boat.
Hi.
She waves awkwardly to him, uncomfortable that she looked into the boat.
No, I don't trust him, okay? That's why we need to move fast. So get me the camera crew, and I promise that...
The boat, occupied with Nate and Sully, suddenly roars to life and takes off, leaving the reporter behind.
Son of a bitch.
She runs down to the dock, trying to stop them.
Hey! Should have seen that one coming.
All right, let's take a break really quick. So, guys, let's start with Adam. Adam, so far, we've kind of had this set up, right? We know the three main characters of the story. What are you thinking so far?
Well, you know, you're immediately introduced to these three people. Obviously, it's quite apparent that you have one guy who might be a little too trusting, and then you have Sully, who's the level head, who, well, maybe not the level head, but the mentor type to Drake, and then obviously the reporter, so who's trying to get a story. that's like those are the initial thoughts. Maybe they shouldn't be doing this treasure hunt. Who are these guys dealing with? That pirates are coming after them. There's a lot going on here just in this first setup.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan? What are you feeling?
I think it's a really good way to introduce some characters. The dialogue here does a really good job of kind of setting up the dynamic, like Adam said. You right away know, okay, Sully is some type of mentoring type. Drake is kind of like that Indiana Jones analog, right? The adventurous, kind of charismatic guy who just also happens to murder a bunch of people. And then you have Elena who's there trying to get a story, kind of a little bit over her head, trying to figure out what's going on. But we have this kind of setup, right? This hook of El Dorado, which even for people who don't know a ton about history, I think understand that El Dorado means like wealth and gold. And that is our hook, right? That's our really interesting hook. But yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really cool the way they set this up, that you immediately are in this firefight, for Nate and Elena to be caught in this life or death situation with these pirates. It kind of forces them to get closer, maybe more than they actually wanted to be, right? And so they become more friendlier, and you see this friendship start to form between the three of them, though, like Adam says, Sully's more the level-headed one. He's more the realist. Like, we can't have this girl following us, or else, she'll want the treasure too, or she'll ruin this for us. We have to just stick to us. We work together. We don't need anyone else. And I kind of think that kind of sets the dynamic up really well.
Yeah, and she's a reporter.
Yeah, she's a reporter. Yeah.
So, that's... Sully doesn't want this story getting out, and he says it right at the end there, at the end of the dialogue, like, yeah, let her come along, and everybody's going to know what we're doing, what we're up to, and, oh, by the way, there's this El Dorado, the city of gold, right? This is... You don't want a reporter tagging along. We used her to get a boat. Now she's got to be cut loose. So
yeah, it's weird because Sully is such a likable character, but he's such a dick.
It's your first introduction, right? Here's Sully.
It'll be interesting if there's any changes that go along throughout the story, like characterization for these people. It'll be fun to see if there is any. Ooh, foreshadowing. A short time has passed as Nate and Sully are deep in an unknown jungle. The humidity was heavy as the two continued to explore. As Nate pushed forward, Sully stopped to catch his breath.
Hold on, kid. Not as young as I used to be.
You weren't too old for that little barmaid in Lima, were you?
Well, that's different, and although I must admit, equally as strenuous.
Well, hang in there, old-timer. We're just about there. The two continue forward into the jungle.
This reminds me. I ever tell you about the time I pawned a phony 16th century Santo off Pablo Escobar? A risky move, but by the time he figured it out, I was... Nate, you even listening to me?
Hanging on every word.
Why waste my breath?
Nate and Sully move through openings between large boulders and overgrown grass.
You really think Francis Drake came all the way up here, huh? What an awful long way from England.
The two stop in the spot they're looking for. Nate looks confused.
Well?
I don't get it. According to this, we're on top of the mark.
There's nothing there, Nate. Another goddamn dead end.
Easy, Sully. Just relax. Let's take a look around. Nate sighs and begins to search the area.
Man, this is like trying to find a bride in a brothel.
They find a narrow path and enter through the opening. An old stone structures reclaimed by Mother Nature stand in place.
Well, now, this is more like it. What do you think this is, Incan?
Nah, it's older than that. Like 2,000 years older.
Huh.
Nate climbs the structures, looking for anything that stands out to him. He jumps structure to structure.
Find anything?
Nothing yet.
Be careful up there.
Hey, there's something funny about the ground down there. Nate points out a spot in question to Sully.
It's hollow. We gotta find a way to smash through this.
Shimmying over to the spot from above, Nate pushes a large piece of a broken statue down and bursts through the covered opening in the ground. A small doorway now shows. Whoa! Nate jumps down and the two enter into the doorway.
Good work, kid.
Descending down a staircase, darkness covers their eyes.
Think we're gonna need the flashlights for this one.
Nate and Sully turn on their flashlights to suddenly have a group of bats fly at them.
Whoa! What a warm and homey place, huh?
Not quite what you were expecting, huh?
Yeah. Where's all the damn gold?
This place was picked clean centuries ago.
No good limey pirate.
No, it wasn't Drake. Check this out. Looks like the Spanish guy here before he did. Nate finds an old, rusted Spanish helmet that he passes over to Sully. Sully throws the helmet in anger. What the hell, Sully?
Nate, I'm not looking for a lousy piece of tin. I'm up to my eyeballs in debt. I was really counting on this one.
Too many big bar tabs in Lima, I guess?
That and, well, just a few bad deals.
Yeah, well, I always told you to stay away from the bad guys. And the bad girls.
Yeah? Look who's talking.
What is that supposed to mean?
That reporter. I saw the way you were eyeing her.
Elena, please. I snuffed any chance with her the second we ditched her on that dock.
All's fair in love and war, kid.
And what if you can't tell the difference?
Then, my friend, you're in big trouble.
The two explorers travel deeper and deeper into the structure, forced to solve ancient puzzles using clues left behind in Sir Francis Drake's journal. Nate and Sully find themselves in a room with only old scaffolding as a way to cross it. A deep pit looms underneath the scaffolding below. Ah, this looks safe. The scaffolding begins to creak and snap. Whoa! Oh!
Nate, get out of there now.
Oh, no! Nate runs as the scaffolding begins to break and fall beneath him. Sully stands back and travels through an opening to his left. Nate continues to run, his footing quickly plunging behind him into the pit below. Luckily, he makes it back to solid stone footing and up the staircase in front of him. Oh, I made it. I'm okay. Sully made it too, now stuck on the opposite side of the stone wall from Nate.
Now it looks like we're getting somewhere.
After that, we better be. They shine their lights on a strangely vacant opening. It's a space missing something large.
Oh, man.
The temple must have been built around this.
Around what?
Nate examines the ground. Small slivers of gold shine in the darkness from the light of their flashlights. A statue. A gold statue.
A huge gold statue. And look, here.
Sully points to the stone carvings on the wall.
These people, they're worshipping the damn thing. At least, I think they're people.
Of course, El Dorado, the golden man. Sully, it wasn't a city of gold. It was this. It was a golden idol.
Man, could you imagine what that thing would be worth now?
Look over here. Tracks. I bet the Spanish dragged it out on cut logs. Huh. We're 400 years late for this party.
So the trail's cold?
Yeah, it looks that way.
Son of a bitch.
Unless
Unless what?
we follow the tracks. The two follow the ancient tracks left by the Spaniards, but they stop suddenly. Nate figures the Spaniards made a shortcut to get the treasure out. Climbing up more ancient pillars, Nate and Sully hear a noise. Turning a corner, the two see a large waterfall with a German U-boat resting on the ledge of the falls. Oh, must have come up from the river during the flood season and gotten stuck. Let's check it out, huh?
Nah, wait. Something about this feels kinda hinky.
Hinky? You act like you've never seen a German U-boat in the middle of the jungle before.
No, I'm being serious, Nate.
Tell you what, why don't you stay here? I'll check it out myself. I'll call you if I run into any Nazis.
Yeah, right, you do that.
All right, let's take a quick break right here. I personally, Victor Sullivan is such a great character. His lines are so good. Like, he's just so personable, and as great as Nate and Elena are, Sully is the one I'm constantly laughing at. Like, he's just so good. Like, his lines are so quick and so funny. Like, he's probably the fun guy at the party you want to just talk to all night. Like, he's such a cool dude. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys feel the same way, or do you feel like Nate or Elena is more the people that you kind of focus on more?
I think these characters, certainly I think I agree, Eric Sully is the kind of comedic relief, and like he has some of the best lines. I think if it was just Sully by himself, it wouldn't work as well if it wasn't balanced with like Drake and his like driving the driving intrigue that he's setting up by the hook of El Dorado then becoming a physical idol, and then the U-boat is just this like totally out of left field, super interesting turn that I think again with Sully there and Nate being there together is what makes like their dynamic is I think so great, and their characters are written in a way that they feel believable and realistic, or at least realistic in the same way that we, you know, believe in movies, right? It feels like an actual relationship. There's some history there. The way they're constantly referencing different times they were together and different things they went through together, it just is constantly reminding you that they have this history. And then this history is brought to the forefront, and we have these interactions back and forth. And just, the whole idea of them finding... and this is something that's in all the Uncharteds, but they're looking for this great, incredible treasure, and they find it, but it's not what you expected, and it's different. Mm-hmm. And how isn't that? And that is much more interesting, I think, than if they just found a city of gold. They found this golden idol, which adds just this really cool mystery to it. Then the U-boat just kind of flips everything on its head.
Yeah, exactly. I love the twist that these games do. They set up an expectation and then they flip it, but it makes sense because of the situation that you're placed in. You know, it's not a city of gold we're looking for. It's a golden statue that was worshipped, and how that was kind of misconstrued. But Nate is very smart. He knows a lot of history, so he's kind of put that together, and it's just very, very fun. But yeah, Adam, what do you think?
You know, this game, you get to the U-boat, it's not too far into the game. It's within the first hour, and you're at one point you're on a boat getting shot at. The next minute you're leaving a dock and you're walking through the jungle. You in a cave. You're basically bouncing from set to set to set to set. But the way that the story keeps flipping. I mean, I remember the first time playing Uncharted 1. You're coming out and you're seeing a U-boat just kind of sitting at the mouth of, like pretty much on top of a waterfall. So you're climbing through the jungle one minute, and then he's going to be dropping into the hatch and walking around a German U-boat in the middle of the jungle. It's really cool. But to go back to Sully is that lovable character, that guy that I think it's Uncharted 3 when you go back and you play as a young Nathan Drake, and that's when you meet Sully, and you see that relationship, and at the time you don't know how long it's been around, how long they've been together, but you can see that dynamic works very well. You have Drake who's perfectly ready to do some parkour and jump around, off of rocks and everything. And then you have Sully who's like, hey man, you should probably be a little bit safer. I don't know if you should go into that U-boat. It's kind of rickety. Trying to keep Drake in check and keep him alive.
Yeah.
So, I don't think the dynamic works separately. To go back to Ryan's point, if it were just Sully as the main character, his quips and his more level head just doesn't work without having Drake there. So all in all, great story.
Yeah, exactly. I think Nate needs that voice of reason, which right now is Victor Sullivan, which is very, very cool. And Sully does a great job doing it. Like he kind of keeps him in check, which is I think Nate needs, or else he'd probably be dead already. So very, very cool. Yeah. Nate is able to climb inside the rusted German U-boat and explores inside its hulls. Thick spider webs and blood cover the inside of the submarine. Coming across a dead body, Nate finds gold coins in its pockets. Nate calls Sully over the walkie-talkies. Well, I just met a guy with pockets full of Spanish gold. Only the coins are stamped with a mint mark I've never seen before.
You're kidding me.
Looks like our German friends had a little secret. Walking into the captain's quarters, Nate finds the decomposing body of the German U-boat captain. Their body torn to shreds, and a pained face is all that remains of them. In the captain's hands is an old map. Nate opens and looks at the map and makes a shocking discovery. Sully, you're not going to believe this.
Try me.
I think I found our missing page.
You're kidding.
It looks like Drake and our German pals were after the same treasure, and I've got the map that's going to lead us right to it.
Nate, this better not be another wild goose chase. We've got to get something out of this tripper.
Or what? Sully? Are you there? Sullivan. Quickly leaving the submarine, Nate accidentally knocks over an old missile that slowly begins to tick. Quickly escaping the open cannon chute, Nate swims out of the submarine and emerges on the surface to find two individuals. One offers Nate a hand to get out of the water, while the other holds an AK-47. The friendlier man introduces himself as Gabriel Roman. Roman tells Nate that Sully owes a lot of money, and he overheard something about an El Dorado. Navarro, Roman's henchman, holds his gun up as Nate and Sully keep their hands up. Nate gives his newly found map to Roman as compensation for Sully's debt. To make sure Sully understands, Roman points a gun at Nate's head and prepares to fire. Roman fires, and Sully jumps in front of the bullet, clenching his chest in pain. Sully! Nate jumps at Navarro's AK-47 in hand and struggles to free it. Suddenly, the missile that had been knocked over inside the German U-boat explodes and ruptures into flames. Everyone falls over from the force of the blast. Knowing this is his only chance, Nate runs into the jungle. Running fast, his soaked shoes heavy with every step he takes, Nate follows the only path he can find until he feels safe to catch his breath. From behind, a hand grabs Nate's arm. He quickly jumps back, fist ready to fight.
Whoa there, cowboy.
Elena, with her fist pulled back and ready as well, falls through and connects with Nate's face.
That's for leaving me at the docks.
What the hell are you doing here?
Listen, I'm a good enough reporter to follow a few couple of no-luck tomb robbers.
Two of Roman's thugs run by Nate and Elena, not noticing them hiding. Well, you're down to one Tomb Raider now. Sully's dead.
What?
Yeah, and we're next if we don't get out of here.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
Please, tell me you have a gun.
Of course.
Okay, thanks. All right, come on. Nate and Elena continue forward in the jungle, but that means going through Roman's henchmen. Traveling back through the ancient ruins Nate and Sully had just explored, the pair fight against the henchmen waiting inside, desperate to stay alive. They are able to get back out through the entrance, but continue to fight for their lives. Elena leads Nate to her jeep hidden under massive green leaves. They get in the jeep and drive forward to leave for the island where Nate believes the Spanish took El Dorado. The only problem is, Roman knows where it is also. Some time has passed. Nate and Elena are flying Sully's seaplane to the island where the Spaniards took El Dorado. Elena continues to record for her television show, excited to cover what was ahead. From nowhere, the two are fired upon from below. With the engine blown, the two are forced to jump from the plane if they want to live. Elena finds parachutes and straps one on her back. She jumps while Nate continues to fly the plane. He quickly puts on his parachute and works his way to the back of the plane, barely able to make it out before it's too late. He didn't realize he left his valuable map behind. Also, unfortunately for him, his parachute has a hole in it. Landing hard and dangling in a tree, Nate jumps down to solid ground. Oh, hell, Nate says, annoyance in his voice. Strangers trying to kill me, leave my map on a burning plane. Elena's missing, most likely dead. That's great. Great start, Nate. Nate runs out of the old cemetery that he landed in and moves forward. Trudging through the new jungle, Nate runs into pirates and fights them. Gunning them all down, he continues forward, scaling ancient structures and venturing deeper into the jungle. He finds the seaplane crashed into a tree. Climbing up inside of it, thanks to a dangling rope, he finds and collects his map that he forgot. Out in the distance, Nate sees Elena's parachute abandoned. Repelling from the plane, Nate runs towards where Elena's parachute now hangs. More pirates come after him, but he easily guns them down. Jumping across platforms, crossing dangerous ledges, and killing more pirates, Nate makes it to an old fortress. It is the same old fortress that Elena's parachute now rests on top of. The seasoned adventurer climbs the fortress and makes it inside, but still cannot find Elena. At the top of the fortress, Nate sees a familiar building in the distance, a similar building to that of his map. Old Spanish ships now lay resting underneath the waters outside the building. Well now, that looks familiar. The ships never left. Looking slightly lower, Nate finds Elena recording the same building in the distance. Elena? Where did she come from? Right below him, Nate sees pirates readying to take Elena. He fires at them with his gun, but is not fast enough as one shoots a rocket, luckily missing him but knocking Nate out unconscious. Waking up in an old jail cell, Nate is discovered by Elena, who is talking to him from the outside of the jail cell window.
I know I'm not a big-time treasure hunter like you, but I doubt you're going to find El Dorado in there. How'd you get yourself into this mess?
Trying to rescue you, as a matter of fact.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Elena examines the brick wall of the jail cell.
Traditional sandstone, brick and stucco, limestone mortar. Huh.
How'd you get to know so much about this?
My show, episode 4, Architects of the New World. Yep. It'll just take a tug to pull these bars out.
What? No. Wait, are you sure? Elena jumps down, determined to free Nate, while Nate hears yelling and screaming from outside the door leading to his jail cell.
Capitan, open this goddamn door.
Oh, crap. A man, shaved head and sporting a black vest, walks into the room.
Hey, Drake.
Eddie Raja! I should have guessed.
Fascinating document, huh?
Eddie flashes Nate's map.
Seems like this Sir Francis was in my line of work.
Don't flatter yourself, Eddie.
Always ready to be enemies, huh? Tell you what, lead me to the gold and I might just let you live.
Is that it? Is that my deal? Die now or help you and die later? It's a tough call, but you know what? I'll take die now.
Taikamo! Listen to me, maggot. I was promised treasure on this goddamn rock, and now my men are dying. They can't even go outside and take a piss without an armed guard. I have nothing to show for it.
Nate hears the sound of metal hitting metal from behind him. He turns to find a hook resting on one of the jail window bars. His eyes widen as he realizes what Elena plans to do.
I am making you a fair offer. You help me find the treasure, and the last man alive gets the gold. And the girl, of course.
The girl? Oh, Eddie, the girl's long gone. She's probably off the island by now, going for help.
Di Guqing, you are never very good at poker. I will find her, trust me. How much trouble can one girl be?
Suddenly, the jail cell wall is ripped out, torn away by a cable attached to a jeep.
Well, come on.
Thank you. Nate runs from the jail cell to Elena's jeep.
Hey, goddammit!
Okay, nice work.
Thanks. Hey, buka pintu! Hang on. Gente America! After them!
Eddie's men chase after the two as they try to escape the fort. Nate fires at them with the machine gun attached to Elena's jeep in the back. Leaving the fortress and back into the jungle, Eddie's men are relentless. Luckily, the duo escape and make it out in one piece.
So, who was that guy?
Just an old business, so look out!
Oh no, hold on.
Elena and Nate barely stop from falling over the side of a cliff. The jeep is now stuck, its back wheels hanging off the edge. In front of them, Eddie and his goons move forward towards the jeep.
Going somewhere?
Hey, Eddie!
Did you really think you could escape from moi?
Oh no, just giving the young lady the $10 tour.
Shut it! I bet you're working for them too.
What?
You thought you could set me up and keep everything for yourselves, hmm?
Eddie points a shotgun and blasts at the jeep window. Nate and Elena bend down to avoid getting shot. Get down!
Damn it, this guy's crazy.
Eddie demands that Nate gives him the map. With no other way to escape, Nate puts the jeep in reverse and drives back, falling off the cliff and down to the river below. Elena and Nate swim into an ancient flooded city, but are fired upon by Eddie's goons. With the henchmen all dead, Nate and Elena take a moment to rest. She shows recordings on her camcorder of the building shown in Sir Francis Drake's map and all of the sunken Spanish ships. In the footage, Nate spots a working boat and claims that is their ticket to get off the island. Elena argues with Nate, asking if he really plans to quit. She convinces a reluctant Nate to continue forward towards the treasure. This time, I drive.
Okay.
All right, quick pause here. So far, Sully has died. Nate is planning to escape, and Elena is actually the one who wants to continue towards the treasure, which I found really surprising.
Yeah, I really like the dynamic with Elena and Nate here, where in the beginning, Solly was concerned, and Nate, I think, was somewhat concerned as well, but saw her in action, that Elena wouldn't be able to hold her own, or that she couldn't be trusted, or that she would just get them into trouble. And then it ends up being that Elena's the one who saves Nate and gets Nate out of danger. I think that's a really interesting dynamic, especially different from what we usually see in these types of things, where it's the Nathan Drake character just constantly saving Elena, whereas this, it seems to be a little bit more equal in that sometimes Nate saves Elena, sometimes Elena saves Nate, but they seem to have like kind of a partnership. And again, it's just more of these interesting characters that are kind of filling out and feel fully formed. And even with Eddie, who for us in the game and in the narrative, this is our first time meeting Eddie, but we already know there's history between Eddie and Nathan. We've already picked up on that there's some kind of history. And just every time we meet a new character and every time we meet a character in general, the writing does such a good job of letting us know there's already a connection here. They already know each other. There's history here. This isn't just some random meeting, which then lets us fill in the gaps, and the game doesn't have to take time explaining why they know each other. It just trusts us enough to let us fill in those gaps and just then goes with it. Doesn't let that slow it down. Lets it just be part of this roller coaster ride of kind of this Pulp Fiction adventure.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I think Ryan, you nailed it. You know that there's these dynamics, but I think one of the things that makes this, you're watching Nathan Drake, who really just watched his mentor, or at least at the time he thinks he's dead. So I think psychologically there's a reason why he's having to be pulled up by the bootstraps and really, forced to keep moving. Because I mean, I think psychologically there's a lot going on in his head, at least. With what he believes to be losing Sully. So there's a lot going on there, but I think that you're exactly right. You're meeting all these characters, and maybe for us at the time when you're first playing this, you might not know who A, B, C, D, E, R, i.e. Eddie, but you know that there is that backstory, and it makes it interesting, and it makes you want to kind of role play. How do these guys actually know each other, and what has Nathan Drake done to make these guys not like him all that much? Very Han Solo-esque, right? Like this, that dialogue reminds me of obviously Harrison Ford, but like a Han Solo type character in this part where there's that dialogue. So
it almost fills out this like larger underground group who just are constantly adventuring and backstabbing each other together. That just makes the world really interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah, you just don't know who to trust. And that's really cool. Even between the protagonists and the enemies, you don't know who to believe and who to trust. And going to Eddie Raja, I actually really like Eddie Raja a lot in this game, more than I remember liking him the first time I played the game. Story-wise, he's a character that I think you kind of learn to love to hate. He's kind of eccentric in kind of everywhere, and he's very obviously driven, and that kind of makes a fun bad guy character. And actually, I'm enjoying Eddie Raja more than I am enjoying Roman at this point, who is the bad guy in the game, which I think is saying something. So it's very interesting to see where they're going to take this story in terms of bad guys and stuff like that. But also, touching back onto Sully's death, I think something that I wonder if the Naughty Dog team regretted is that when Sully dies, obviously Nate is distraught, but he's never crying. You don't see him very visibly upset. He might be inside, he might be torn up and destroyed and trying to keep it together. But I kind of wish they showed more of that dynamic, especially what Adam is saying in Uncharted 3. Later on, we get more backstory between Nate and Sully and their relationship. I wonder if that was a missed opportunity for them to really show the impact Nate would have had if Sully had died in front of him. Because I think there's way more to their relationship than what is kind of seen in Uncharted 1.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that there's a lot that could be said. Yeah, that there might have been a missed opportunity, but at the time, there's so much going on around him that I don't think he really has time to lose it, I guess, if that makes sense. I really don't know where I'm going with that.
That's a good point.
I don't know. I know that you could just kind of see it in that dynamic between him and Elena, that clearly something going on. But I just don't think that he has really the ability to do it in the moment.
Yeah, I agree with that, Adam. I think they're just kind of pushing forward and going forward with what they have to do. And I think this reaction is completely in line with what we see in these types of things. I think for me, my go-to would be Indiana Jones, right? That is when I think of Pulp Fiction, that is my Pulp Fiction kind of analog that I think of. And the only thing I can think of that kind of rivals this is in the third movie, right, when Indy's dad goes through that situation, which I guess we won't spoil a movie from the 80s, but there's still that moment there. But again, they had that time, and that was a core piece of that narrative. Where I don't know if that was a core piece of this, or if, like you said, there's just so much going on that Nate just doesn't have time.
That is very true. That's actually a very good point to think about. With everything going on, maybe it would take him to getting off the island and knowing that he's safe for him to finally kind of break down and to reveal those emotions about Sully's death. That would make sense. So you're probably right. I didn't think about it that way. So I'm glad that you showed that perspective. Like you should, storygoers, but that's a side note. But yeah, no, I'm glad you said that, Adam. That's a very, very good point. Very good point.
Yeah, I mean, he's being pulled out of he's being thrown on the back of a Jeep. I think actually, is he driving in this scene, or is he actually on the gun? I think Elena's driving, right?
Lena's driving,
Yeah,
that's what I
so-
think he says at the end. This time I drive.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you. So yeah, I mean, also, I've never seen combat, but I'm sure that if you're getting shot at, you're more concerned with returning fire and keeping your head down. So
Yeah, yeah, and they're really holding it together really well. I feel like something that maybe Uncharted doesn't do a whole lot is show like the effects of fighting. Like Nate, I mean, arguably they all do. They kill a lot of people. Like they kill. That's like the ongoing joke for Uncharted. Like Nate literally murders like waves of people. Like. And it just doesn't really say anything about it. Like, it's just kind of a normal day for him.
just lets it go. It's okay.
Yeah, he kind of does. Like he kind of he'll kill just waves and waves of dudes firing at him, and he just like makes a joke and keeps moving forward. And like no one seems any different for it. Whereas like in real life, I imagine that cause like severe PTSD, and you'd be constantly on guard. And so maybe in that regard, it's not very realistic. But you probably couldn't take it down that way and still have it feel like Uncharted. You had to keep it kind of whimsical and silly and lighthearted in a sense, to make it more, I would imagine, digestible and more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And there was actually, when these games came out, and this is still a conversation that's being had, is there's this thing in games, and I'm totally stealing this from other video game podcasts I listen to. There's a thing in games called ludonarrative dissonance, and it's when the gameplay does not match up with kind of the narrative. So, for example, we have Nate, who's this kind of fun, happy-go-lucky, cool, kind of laid-back guy, and then in the same scene, he murders 30 people. You know what I mean? That dissonance between who Nate is as a person, because Nate is portrayed as like generally a good guy. Like he makes decisions that aren't always ideal, but he generally is not out to hurt people. He's just out to kind of, go on this treasure hunt with his friends and keep people safe when he can. And then in the same breath, right, kill 30, 40 guys. And we see this in a lot of game narratives, and that's because I think one of the things that game developers are constantly struggling with is, how do I make this fun and gameplay fun? Like the only way, especially in 2007, they know how to tell a really good story in this third-person setting is this way, but there has to be a game there, right? There has to be some gameplay there. Shooting gameplay is really fun. Let's just add that on, and that is the game. So that is something like within games and within around this time when these like really interesting narrative-driven games were coming out, there was a big conversation around.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it has like an actual proper name for that whole dissonance there. That's really interesting. There's like hundreds of articles on it, so go check it out if you want. But
I guess I'd never heard of that. And the thing is, like, I guess I'll ask you guys, take out the combat. What do you think Uncharted would feel like without all that? You still have the treasure hunting and the adventure and all that stuff, but take out the combat. What do you guys think the game would be received like? How well do you think it'd be received?
I would have to say probably more boring.
Yeah.
Because you're less engaged.
Right?
There's no life or death situation, which and you're making a very good point, Adam. Like you're making a fantastic point. You kind of need that tension.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes the treasure hunt exciting. Like it's exciting to find the treasure, but it's more exciting when other people are trying to find it too.
Yeah.
That are trying to stop you from finding it. That makes it really exciting.
Yeah.
So you make a very good point. You kind of need that, but there's no good way to balance that.
Yeah, I don't know what that would... I think if you took out that, like, shooting and the fighting, not only would I don't think it'd be as engaging, it would just be, like, a super short experience, because so much of this game is managing and platforming and then also fighting. Without that fighting piece and without that action piece, I don't know what that gameplay would be, because the parkouring is fun, the puzzles are fun, but I don't think that's enough to make it a proper game that you could sit down and spend 6 to 8 hours playing.
Yeah, that feels like it would be the kind of game that you'd find on Steam. That's like a first-person exploration thing. It's almost like a Gone Home kind of game where like you're just first-person walking around, interacting with your environment. It's like the now canceled game from the guys that made Firewatch, the Valley of the Gods.
Yeah,
that never came out. That's what it would be like. I think is a first-person like. Solve puzzles, there's no risk, that's probably what Uncharted would be like without the action. But with the action, it creates this sense of tension and kind of brings the characters much closer together because they're trying to survive. But yeah, it's very hard to swallow the fact that Nate murders so many people. But then it's easy to also forget that.
Yeah.
Too, I think at times. I forget that sometimes that Nate has murdered so many people at this point in the game. And I forget if they touch on this in Uncharted 4, and maybe we shouldn't talk about that because it's Uncharted 4, but I hope they do talk more about the effects of that or the consequences of Nate's choices. And I'm very curious also, I'm sorry, I'm rambling at this point. I'm very curious also if this whole discussion did not kind of help with the idea of making The Last of Us, which is another Naughty Dog game. Yeah. Because in that game, you do see the effects of kind of killing so many people, more so than in Uncharted.
Yeah, very psychological. I'm sure that, this game did help in that respect. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Adam.
You're so
Sorry,
welcome.
It's funny. It wasn't funny.
Guys, I'm here. I'm just here to help. That's all.
I mean, you're doing a great job.
Yeah,
you're doing a great job. As our first guest, you're keeping up very well.
Oh yeah, I'm asleep most of the time though. I have a time. I have a timer on, so like every 5 minutes I'll wake up and
is it my line? Oh,
oh shit! Oops, sorry. Oh man.
All right. And we continue. Nate and Elena come across an abandoned jet ski and hop on. Riding down the river, the two are able to fight against Eddie's pirates and make it back to the building on Sir Francis Drake's map, known as the Customs House. Inside the Customs House rest several old ship manifests. Nate is enthralled by all the information. Nate finds a manifest that documents a gold statue that weighed over 500 pounds. He knows this is the gold statue that they're looking for, but the rest of the manifest is empty. Nate is puzzled and rubbed the ring around his neck, deep in thought.
That somebody special?
What? Oh, no. Well, I guess you could say that.
Huh. I pegged you as more of a woman in every port kind of guy.
Don't I wish? No, this was Francis Drake's ring. I, kind of inherited it. Nate shows Elena the ring and the inscription wrapped around it.
Sig Parvis Magna?
Greatness from small beginnings. It was his motto. Check out the date.
29th of January, 1596.
One day after his supposed death.
Wait, what are these numbers right here?
Elena points at the numbers found on the inside of the ring. Coordinates. Right off the coast of Panama.
Oh, so that's how you found the coffin.
Yeah, that's right. See, Drake left this as a clue to pinpoint the exact burial site.
For someone clever enough to figure it out.
Yeah, nice try. But we're still going for that boat. I'm afraid this is as close as we're getting to El Dorado. Nate rips up the page of the manifesto titled El Dorado, and both he and Elena walk out of the room. I think it's very important to point out that Nate has a very special relationship with Sir Francis Drake, though they had never met. But it's very obvious that Nate holds him in high regard, having the ring wrapped around his neck as a necklace. Would you guys agree with that, or do you feel like it's going too far?
I don't think it's going too far. I mean, he carries that name around, carries the ring around. I think it's just a kind of like a historical idol. I don't think that's stretching it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
No, I don't. I agree. I don't think it's stretching it too far. I mean, he also shares the name, right? Sir Francis Drake and Nathan Drake. So there's like some implied connection there. That they're just kind of that Drake is leaning into, or that we as a storygoer are kind of making that connection. This kind of highlighting that experience.
Yeah, and I wanted to point it out, I think, and I remember why I wanted to talk about it, is that this is really important, this dynamic between Nathan Drake and Sir Francis Drake, because we see that dynamic possibly shift as the story goes on, and we'll know more about that when it comes up. I thought just as a storygoer listening to this, be mindful for the fact that Nate holds Sir Francis Drake in high regard, and, I believe that he holds Sir Francis Drake in high regard, and that relationship between the two is very important moving forward. As they make their way out of the customs building, they're ambushed by Eddie's men again. Making it out to one of the balconies outside, Elena convinces Nate to go get the boat while she stays behind to get more footage for her show. Nate reluctantly agrees and moves forward through the customs house to find the boat on the right side of the building, resting at the dock. Finding his way through more pirates, Nate arrives at the boat only for it to be loaded with items carried by the pirates. Preparing for another fight, Elena suddenly comes up from behind him, camcorder in hand, desperate to show Nate something important. The footage taken just moments ago shows Roman and his henchman Navarro readying to take off on a helicopter, with Victor Sullivan alive and joining them.
I don't know, Nate. I mean, how much do you trust this guy? It's not exactly like they're holding him at gunpoint.
I know, it seems weird. But no, Sully's a lot of things, but he's not a backstabber. The pirates, having loaded the boat, take off, unaware of Nate and Elena hiding behind them. Which way were they heading?
Northish? Yeah, towards the mountains.
Okay. It's gotta be the monastery. Let's go.
What if it turns out he's working with them?
We either rescue him and beat the crap out of him. Hell, I might just beat the crap out of him anyway. With their only ride, the boat, now gone, Nate and Elena travel north to the customs building, trying to catch up to Roman and Sully. While traveling across an old wooden bridge, the planks under Elena's feet give way. She is caught by Nate, but unfortunately drops her camera, plummeting to the depths below. Upset she lost all of her footage, Nate redirects her to move forward. Leaving the customs house in one piece and escaping into the jungle, Nate and Elena make their way north, commandeering another jet ski and traveling upriver. Drenched and cold from the water's rapids, Nate and Elena seemingly make it to the sanctuary. Elena rushes in a hurry while Nate tries to calm her down and reminds her that Eddie's goons are all over. Suddenly, Elena and Nate walk right in front of a trap having already been set off, with one of Eddie's goons having been impaled by it now left to hang and rot. Nate comments that the spikes on the trap were made by the Spanish long ago, but there are also spikes attached made by the wreckage of their seaplane embedded into the same trap.
Wait, that doesn't make any sense though. Why would anyone set up traps like this when their own men are crawling all over the island?
They wouldn't. Nate bends down to find some strange, abnormally large tracks left in the mud. Something's been here since the trap was sprung.
Something or someone? What do you think that...
Shh. Do you hear that?
Hear what?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We're being watched.
Watched?
Yeah. You know what? It's probably nothing. Let's just get out of here before we run into whatever's been chewing on this guy.
Okay.
Alright, so quick side note. So now we're being introduced to something weird here, right? We look at these tracks. They're very weird tracks. Tracks that aren't belonging to any human or any animal or any known animal. It's a very weird track left behind. So like when this happened, it's like, what is going on? Like this very realistic take on history is shifting a little bit and something's not right. When this happens in the story, what are you guys thinking?
I mean, for me, when this happens, it's almost as if, again, there's this other layer like added onto it. It's almost like there's this supernatural element, because at least for me, when I first played Uncharted and more with Uncharted 2, I didn't have any idea, any thoughts there'd be anything other than kind of this wild adventure. And then you start to see, and this is kind of common throughout all of the games, that there's always something else going on. There's something kind of nefarious and something that almost seems magical in nature. We don't have enough information for that yet, but there's just something strange going on.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is there's that layer of, really what's going on with Sully.
Yeah, good point. I forgot about that. Jeez.
We're starting to kind of question, okay, what's really happening with this other, I guess, this underlying theme. We're starting to question what characters' motives are and everything like that. So just adds another layer to it.
Yeah, we don't know who exactly is friend and who exactly is foe at this point. It's cool. I when that happens, I'm like, oh my god, please don't let Sully be a bad guy. Like, please. Like, it's cool that he lived, but please don't let him be a bad guy. That would suck. He's such a cool character.
It's really good writing where, or at least I think so, it's really good narrative when you as a character are excited that this person is alive, but you have so much other questions about, but wait, what is going on here? And you can see that in Nate too. Like they've tied our emotions so closely to Tate because of the narrative they're telling, that we as a player are excited that Sully's alive, but then just like Elena, what is going on? Mm-hmm. Yeah, what is going on? Why is this happening? It's just really well done. It's really engaging and intriguing. And again, I think like we've talked about so many times, it brings out so many questions that make it more engaging and more dramatic.
Definitely. Nate and Elena come out of the clearing into the entrance of the monastery. Two of Roman's mercenaries stand guard outside. They are told to keep Nate and Elena away from Sully and to secure the library. One mercenary mentions that the old man is working on the east side of the complex and they can't be trusted. Nate and Elena fire on them, quickly killing the mercenaries and moving forward into the monastery. Adventuring through the monastery, Nate and Elena make their way towards the library, killing more pirates without hesitation along the way. Making their way to the front entrance of the library, they know that they can't just walk in the front, so they go around to the side and enter through a hole in the wall. Inside the library, Nate and Elena hear a familiar voice.
She worked in this little bar in the Philippines. Oh, man. She had a smile that melts your heart, but, I swear to God, she'd just as soon kill you as kiss you if she'd caught you stepping out. Just a wee bit of a thing. She couldn't have been more than 4'11". They called her a spinner because she...
Will you shut up, old man? You told us that one a dozen times already.
Oh, yeah, right. Of course I did. Memory's not what it used to be.
What the hell's taking you so long anyway?
Well, maybe you hadn't noticed, but most of these books are half rotten and written in Spanish.
Well, hurry it up. The boss is waiting on you. Looking up, one of the mercenaries spots Elena and Nate.
Hey, up there!
Oh, crap. A firefight ensues as the treasure hunters gun down the two mercenaries, watching Sully.
Oh, man, it's about time you showed up.
Well, you're looking awfully good for a corpse.
So you brought the girl after all, huh?
The girl?
Hey, if it wasn't for her, you wouldn't be getting rescued right now.
If this is a rescue.
What the hell does that mean?
You gotta admit, Sully, that this is all a little shady.
Yeah.
I mean, you tipped those guys off.
And miraculously showing up alive?
Now, wait a goddamn minute. Roman had a contract out on me. I needed to buy some time, alright? Stupid mistake. I didn't realize they'd try and track us.
Sully, we would have been heading home with the treasure by now if you had just kept your mouth shut.
And you might have been checking for a pulse before running off and leaving me for dead. Look, none of that matters now.
Alright, so how is it that you're standing here breathing and all, huh?
You're not going to believe this, huh?
Sully holds up Sir Francis Drake's journal that Nate discovered in the ocean days ago, a bullet still lodged in the book. No way! Old Francis took a bullet for you?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this kind of thing only happened in movies.
Yeah, well, it still hurt like a son of a bitch, I'll tell you that.
I bet.
Anyway, once they realized I wasn't dead, I convinced Roman that they'd never find the treasure without me, so I've been trying to mislead them ever since, waiting for you to show up.
Well, where are they now?
Well, they're chasing a little red herring I sent them on the other side of the monasteries, to get rid of them.
Victor points out a page in the journal of Sir Francis Drake.
Look, Drake had it all figured out. See, that's the symbol the Spanish used to mark the secret vaults. Treasure's hidden right here in this monastery. Find the symbol. And we find the vault. We have everything we need right here. All the clues take us right to the treasure. We can do this, kid.
All right. You boys aren't going to get all chummy and leave a girl behind again, are you?
Don't even think about it, Sully. She's got a mean right hook.
I'll keep that in mind.
The three investigate the library, looking for any clues they can find to the location of the treasure. Nate realizes that the 4 statues in the room have all been drawn in Drake's journal. Shifting them in the right directions, a secret passage behind a bookcase opens. They go down inside and open another door. Nate opts to go into the passage alone, against the wishes of Elena and Sully. Sully gives Nate a radio and tells him to leave it on channel 13, so they can communicate. Elena stops Nate before he leaves.
Nate, be careful.
Come on, I always am. Nate turns and hits his head on the passage opening. Ugh, I did not see that. Sorry, I thought that line was so good.
It's hilarious.
Nate goes into the passage and travels underground, underneath the monastery. Taking down more of Roman's mercenaries, Nate overhears Roman and Eddie talking to one another through a small grate. Eddie tells Roman that it is not just Nate killing all their men, and that this island is cursed. Roman cuts Eddie loose and questions Navarro on his wild treasure hunt. Navarro assures Roman that it'll all be worth it. Nate continues to make his way underground and is able to climb up the monastery, but finds no luck on any clues leading to the treasure. He radios Sully, who tells him that the books in the library hint at a secret galley at the top of the church. Nate makes his way to the church, only to find Roman and Navarro waiting there as well. You have got to be kidding. Hey, Sully.
I'm here.
Remember Roman and Navarro and that red herring you sent them on to get them out of the way?
Yeah?
Well, they're sitting right on top of the treasure vault.
Oh, of all the goddamn luck.
Look, I'm going to need a diversion to get out of here.
You got it, kid. One diversion coming right up.
And Sully?
Yeah?
Once they're gone, meet me in the mausoleum. but come through the catacombs. It's safer that way.
Gotcha.
Nate watches as Navarro and Roman leave the mausoleum, having heard that Sully escaped. He makes his way down to the mausoleum into more firefights with the mercenaries stationed outside. After wiping them out, Nate enters the mausoleum to find Sully and Elena waiting for him patiently inside, having traveled there through the catacombs. Solving a puzzle inside the mausoleum, a secret passage opens and the three travel inside. They hear a weird noise and realize that the secret passage is a trap. Nate pushes Sully back into the mausoleum, but he and Elena are now trapped inside. Walking forward, they enter into a large room with elaborate structures spread throughout. Able to navigate the structures, Nate and Elena find themselves in an empty room where the treasure should be. Against the back wall, Nate finds a surprising corpse. It is the corpse of Sir Francis Drake himself. It's Drake. He never found it. He just died here. So much for greatness. Wasted his life for nothing. Nate takes off the necklace with Drake's ring attached to it and leaves it by Drake's corpse.
Nate, are you ready to get moving?
Yeah. More than ever. So quick pause here. So now we're seeing that Nate has kind of lost all this kind of aspiration, I want to say. Or Nate has lost kind of all of this, all of his like positive feelings towards Sir Francis Drake has kind of gone now. He thinks that Drake has just wasted his life and died in these catacombs for nothing. So we see him drop the ring by Sir Francis Drake's corpse, and that's kind of the end of it. So Ryan, when you saw this, like what kind of went through your mind in terms of like what Nate is feeling in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like this, and because we know more information, it seems like this was really important to Drake. A lot of who he was and his motivation seemed to be tied to Drake. I mean, so far, all the things he's found, all the things he's done has been because of this ring he inherited, and now it was all for nothing. This motto that Drake seemed to have lived by, that from greatness from small beginnings, seemed to be kind of a motto he was living by, and now he finds this person he looked up to just dead, and he didn't achieve anything in Drake's eyes, in Nathan Drake's eyes, and it seems to be that was really hard on him.
Yeah, and like Adam, do you think that like Nate saw himself in Francis Drake and kind of like felt this like, wow, if Sir Francis Drake it died for nothing, what am I doing?
I mean, I think he was trying to emulate Francis Drake, but there's a saying that I've heard before. It's never meet your heroes because they're sure to disappoint you. And I think that this pretty much encompasses that. So like for Nathan Drake, well, if Francis Drake can't complete his goals, can't achieve his desires, then what's in it for me? Like, what am I can't do that. If he can't, then I can't. So I think there's a lot of that. It's not uncommon for people to idolize people, but if you're going to walk in and you find, like for Nathan, you find Francis Drake's corpse just laying there, not even at the finish line, it's extremely disappointing, I'm sure.
Yeah. It was probably, I imagine it was like, it did not validate Nate's respect and admiration for Sir Francis Drake. And in a sense, I feel like if I was Nate and I was in that situation, I would really be questioning what I was doing with myself. Whereas I'm my hero is Sir Francis Drake, this idol that, I mean, it sounds like he's always had. And for Francis Drake to just die, not having accomplished all of his goals, I would imagine Nate probably feels a lot of questions towards himself, like, what am I doing here? And will I end up like Sir Francis Drake if I continue down this path that I'm going down? Probably a lot of conflicting emotions, and it looks like he kind of gives up on that admiration and respect that he has for Sir Francis Drake by leaving the ring behind, which is very, I think it symbolizes that feeling that he has. Nate and Elena find a ladder, and he spots her to help her reach it. As she climbs up, Nate turns around and finds Eddie and one of his goons slowly backing up towards him. Screams can be heard in the distance. What the hell is going on out there?
Didn't you see them?
Oh, no. Oh, God, no.
We're trapped.
Jesus, what is that?
We're dead. We're all dead.
Without realizing it, Eddie's henchman is grabbed by a monstrous creature and dragged down a pit.
No.
Eddie, get back! Eddie runs towards his man, but knows it's too late. More of the creatures come up from the pits below, grotesque and walking on all fours. Oh, crap.
Drake, if we don't make it out of here, I just want you to know, I hate your guts.
Yeah, likewise, pal. Now let's do this. Eddie and Nate shoot at the monsters who charge and leap at them. Elena questions what's happening below, but Nate just tells her to get the rope hanging above and drop it down so they can climb up.
That's right, you ugly konyak. Don't mess with Eddie Raja.
From the pit below, a hand comes up and grabs Eddie. It pulls on him and refuses to let go. Nate runs up to try and help, but one of the monsters plunges their teeth into Eddie's neck and pull him down into the vast emptiness below. Eddie! Eddie, hold on!
Ah!
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Elena, hurry up! All right, so really quick, I want to take a discussion. Eddie is dead. He's super duper dead.
No way.
Yeah. And it makes me sad because I really liked him as a bad guy in this game. I wish he had more of a part to play in this. I feel like he was underutilized story-wise. I enjoyed him a lot more than I've enjoyed Roman and Navarro. I feel like Eddie was the kind of villain where he was very self-motivated and it was very realistic and it made sense, but he was also a villain that made mistakes. And so it was very interesting to see him and his dynamic with Nate and Elena. And of course, too, Nate and Eddie's past relationship dynamics are there, too. We don't know a whole lot, but that kind of makes it interesting. So I wish we had seen more of that before Eddie died. I don't know, Adam, do you feel the same way, or how do you feel towards Eddie?
I feel the same way. I feel like, and I'm going to go out and show how much of a nerd I am. Very Darth Maul-like, right? In episode 1, right?
Yeah.
You know, he's killed off in the first game. I think that there could have been such a larger story, and of course we find more bad guys throughout the series. But I think I have to agree. You kind of want to see more of Eddie. At least I do.
Yeah. I actually would have loved it if Eddie had been this recurring character that somehow always survived. Like he's always a part of these adventures, and not on purpose. Like he is always going off in these adventures, and somehow he's in the same adventure that Nate is also in, and he's always in these messed up situations, but he just always lived. I think that would have been so funny and such a fun kind of thing to always have in the Uncharted games. Will Eddie survive this? And then Uncharted 4 he finally dies. Wow, I did not see that coming. Something funny like that. I think
just in the most weird way possible. He gets hit by a train in the fourth one or something. But
yeah, or he dies of a heart attack, or he eats and
right?
chokes on something. How funny would that be? It'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think that would have been a lot. I would better. I would say. He was a fun character.
Yeah, he's a really fun character. He's I don't know. Yeah, I think he's totally underutilized. But Ryan, how do you feel towards Eddie?
Yeah, I feel sad for Eddie too. I think there are, if I'm remembering right, there's a comic series that featured Eddie that took place before this. So if you're interested in more Eddie, I don't know what it's called, but I could Google it if you'd like. But I'm pretty sure there's more of Eddie out there somewhere. Not in game form, I don't think, though. But yeah, I liked Eddie as a character. You wanted to know more about his history. And then also in this scene, we see these monsters for the first time. Which, this is what I remember being the terrifying from this game, is up till now, we're murdering obnoxious amounts of pirates and mercenaries and things like that. But now there are these terrifying creatures charging at us, trying to attack us, killed Eddie, that totally, again, flips everything. It adds so much more tension when now there's this, supernatural almost monster that is totally unexplained up to this point, just now exists. It's really interesting.
For those of you storygoers who enjoyed the game Until Dawn for the PS4, and I think probably PS5, the monsters in Until Dawn remind me a lot of the monsters of this game. They look very similar.
Yeah, they look very similar.
But yeah, they're it's creepy because you're what is happening? And so obviously these creatures, I mean, maybe it's not obvious. These creatures are the ones who left the footprints by the trap that were gnawing on the dead body of Eddie Raj's pirate. The body, yeah. So now we're kind of putting the pieces together. These monsters are everywhere. They were watching Nate and Elena And now they're coming out of the woodwork to get them. And so we're thinking, what is going on? This is just a treasure hunt between, it was like kind of like a normal, quote unquote, normal situation that wasn't very normal. But now it got super weird because these monsters are coming out of everywhere. And so Nate is just desperately trying to stay alive while Elena's doing whatever she can to get this rope down to get him up. So it's a lot, even more tension is put on the tension that was already there.
Yeah, I can remember the emotions when I first played this. My palms literally sweaty. Like, what is happening? You're just like literally at one point you're walking through a U-boat. Next point you're getting chased by zombies. Like, what is it?
Yeah. It's cool. I think they did a really good job too, because I think it could have gone. I wonder if there was a lot of stress in this one particular part, introducing these monsters. I feel like it could have gone so bad, but they handled it really well. I think that there was a lot of mystery behind them, so like not making it very obvious as to what they were, and then having them show up would have been worse. Whereas now they're kind of being sprinkled in more and more, and that question, like, what is going on? Like, this is getting crazy, but you're so wrapped up in this action and survival that I think you don't have a whole lot of time to question what's going on, which works for the story.
Yeah, they read the horror story playbook where you wait until the very last minute to reveal the monster, right? You let your mind be filled with the imagination, because in this scene, in these moments, you're in this like large empty catacomb cavern that's kind of spooky on its own, but you're not really sure why. And then these creatures appear that you weren't expecting at all, and it just ramps up the tension so much.
Yeah, I think it was very, very well done. I'm very curious to find out kind of what is going on with these creatures and their role to play in all this. Elena is able to drop down a rope that Nate climbs up. Making it back together, Nate and Elena run from the monsters chasing them down any corridor they can find. They make it into an empty room with a metal vault door and quickly shut it behind them, keeping the monsters at bay. Both turn around and quickly realize that they have found themselves in an abandoned German bunker. Documents left behind on the tables indicate that the Germans found the golden statue left by the Spaniards long before them. Unable to escape anywhere else, Nate leaves through a broken window and turns the power back on to the bunker. More monsters come out of the woodwork and attack Nate as the alarms of the bunker sound off around him. On his way back to get Elena, Nate walks to a room with a running projector showing the golden statue and a Nazi soldier chained to a pillar, rabid and covered in blood. A picture left next to the projector shows a German soldier kneeling next to the giant golden statue. A letter resting next to the picture is picked up by Nate, and he reads it out loud. My end is near. The devils hunt for me in the darkness. The gold of El Dorado bears a terrible curse. The Spaniards have unleashed hell and become as devils. My men have all been murdered, leaving the task to me alone. No ship will depart this island. I destroyed them all, and I drowned the cursed city. A thing of such great evil must never leave these shores. In my final hour, I commend my soul to God. May He have mercy on this unholy place. Francis Drake. Nate, having realized Sir Francis Drake did not waste his life, quickly runs out of the room, being chased by more monsters who followed after him. Making it back to the bunker room Elena was left in, Nate finds it now empty. Looking at one of the windows in the opposite side of the bunker, Nate sees Roman, Navarro, two mercenaries, and Elena. Roman turns on the microphone on his side of the bunker to talk to Nate. Can you hear me in there? Loud and clear, jackass. Oh, no microphone on your end. What a shame.
Nate, get out of there before...
Navarro punches Elena in the stomach. Elena! Leave her alone, you sons of... Navarro, if you can't maintain control over one small girl...
It won't happen again. Trust me.
I'm sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to, thank you for leading us to El Dorado. Of course, Nate says. Oh, I hope you don't mind if we borrow Miss Fisher a little while longer, just to discourage you and your partner from trying anything creative. So long, Nate. It's been fun. Yeah, keep smiling, asshole. I'll see you soon. Mercenaries come from behind Nate towards the bunker where he stands in.
After him.
Oh, hell, this can't be good. Nate hears the mercenaries run up towards his location.
Go, go, go.
Like the other firefights, Nate barely makes it out alive. Traveling through the German structure, Nate kills more mercenaries and monsters alike, while looking desperately to save Elena. Nate finds a ladder that takes him back up to the surface and into the jungle. He contacts Sully, who is being held down at the church by Roman's mercenaries. Nate runs back to help his friend. "We gotta stop them, Sully. They don't know what they're dealing with. I don't know how, but that statue destroyed the whole colony, and it killed the Germans too.
Whoa, come again?
There's no time. We gotta get to the church." Nate and Sully run desperately to the church. Mercenaries are everywhere looking to finally kill the two treasure hunters. After more gunfire, Nate and Sully go into the hidden passage under the altar. Pushing the altar out of the way, a small opening leading down below awaits them. Both jump down.
You want to tell me what the hell's going on?
Drake didn't want to take the treasure off the island, Sully. He was trying to stop it from leaving.
What?
It's like cursed or something.
Oh, Nate, for God's sake.
Look, I know it sounds crazy. You gotta trust me. Running through the passages below, Nate and Sully find the golden statue, along with Roman, Navarro, Elena, and more mercenaries. They are forced to drop their weapons, or Elena dies. Both Nate and Sully comply, begrudgingly dropping their weapons to the ground. Roman examines the golden statue resting before them, as Navarro tells him that it is only a shell, and to open it. Roman does just that, opening the golden statue to reveal a mummified corpse trapped inside. The dust from the rotting corpse is inhaled by Roman, who begins to violently cough. Roman closes the golden statue once again, before turning around, revealing his pitch-black eyes. He charges at Navarro, who shoots the now crazed Roman in the head. Navarro reveals that he knows exactly what's going on, and that he plans to sell the golden statue to the highest bidder. Monsters suddenly begin to descend down into the pit where they all stand as the golden statue is secured and lifted by helicopter.
Jesus, what are those things?
It's the Spaniards, Sully. They never left. My God, if that thing gets off the island...
You gotta stop them. I'll cover you from here.
Sully covers Nate as Nate runs and grabs onto the golden statue as it's lifted up by the helicopter. Navarro, still holding Elena as a hostage in the helicopter, hears over the radio that Nate is holding onto the statue. A mercenary leans out of the helicopter to shoot at Nate. Taking her chance, Elena kicks the mercenary out of the helicopter, who continues to fire their gun into the air. A stray bullet goes through the head of the helicopter pilot, instantly killing them. Navarro takes control of the helicopter and brings the helicopter down to a large boat resting in the ocean. Nate jumps down, but the helicopter crashes on top of the ship, onto the helipad. Navarro motions for everyone on the ship to kill Nathan Drake. As Elena lay unconscious in the now on fire helicopter wreckage, Nate desperately guns down mercenaries trying to get to her and save her. Running between cargo containers and crates, Nate barely makes it to the helipad on the ship where the helicopter crashed. He spots Elena and tries to run to her before he is blasted back by Navarro with a grenade launcher. Nate rushes Navarro and is able to get his gun out of his hand. The two continue to fistfight desperately, trying to stop one another. With a good punch, Navarro is knocked out, and Nate runs over to save Elena. As she's pulled out of the helicopter wreckage, Elena points to Navarro, who is now standing. Thinking fast, Nate pushes the dangling helicopter off the helipad and into the ocean below, causing the loose rope resting on the ground to wrap around Navarro's leg, dragging him and the golden statue down into the ocean's depths. Nate and Elena watch as Navarro falls into the ocean. Adios, asshole.
Oh my.
Out in the distance, Nate and Elena spot Victor Sullivan riding up in a small motorboat.
Oh, quite a day.
Yeah. Save the world. Triumph over evil. Pretty typical.
Really?
It's a shame we're leaving empty-handed, though.
Oh. Oh, well, I did manage to save one small thing.
From Elena's pocket is Sir Francis Drake's ring that Nate left behind.
Here, I thought you might miss this.
Thanks. Nate leans in to kiss Elena before the voice of one Victor Sully Sullivan yells out,
You two got a funny idea of romantic.
Sully! Wow, you look like hell.
Yeah, you should see the other guys. Got us a boat.
We already have a boat.
Elena motions to the large boat she and Nate are standing on. Yeah, big boat.
I like this one better.
Sully reveals to have crates full of Spanish gold. Sully, you beautiful son of a bitch.
Borrowed it off a couple of pirates who were too dead to care.
Driving away from the large ship on their motorboat, Nate looks out into the distance. Elena walks over to join him. Hey, sorry you didn't get your story.
That's all right. There'll be other stories. You still owe me one.
Nate smiles, puts his arm around Elena's shoulder. I'm good for it. Nate, Elena, and Sully ride off towards the sunset. The end. Whew, great job, guys. That was a good story.
Yeah,
that
it was.
Yeah, there's so many different parts, and so many good twists and turns that I legitimately just don't see coming. But overall, Adam, let's start with you since you are a special guest. Overall, what do you think of the story of Uncharted?
I think that there's a lot obviously that goes on, but something I'd like to point to is you see Nate's story. I wouldn't say comes full circle, but for Uncharted 1, it comes full circle, where at one moment he's chasing after this illustrious Sir Francis Drake. He's inspired by him. He believes at one point that, Francis Drake didn't accomplish his goals. He, leaves this ring, and then at the end, this symbolic ring comes back, and I think that he finds his passion, his pride, or whatever, what have you, in Francis Drake is returned when everything is settled and done. And if I remember correctly, this scene is done with the sun setting. It's just a perfect end to, I think, almost a perfect game. I loved Uncharted 1, obviously. So, like I said, I just think it was really cool to see that ring come back at the end there, because I think it means a lot to.
I think it really symbolizes Nate and his overall journey in life. Probably is kind of what I'm feeling, and maybe I'm just saying that because I know too much about Nate's life. But I know that the ring means something significant to him. Abandoning it earlier, geez, that word's hard. That was really impactful for Nate. So now that he has this chance of putting the ring back on, it kind of I feel like for me, as the as a person listening to the story, it kind of re-solidifies the fact that Nate now, his belief system is back in place. If that makes sense.
I also think Nate is finishing Sir Francis Drake's goal, right? Sir Francis Drake, his dying wish was to make sure this, whatever it was, this curse never left. And Nathan not only achieves that, but he achieves that by following in Drake's footsteps. And then the ring is returned, right? So it's a full circle for not just Drake, but also Sir Francis Drake. His goal was to make sure that nobody ever saw the light of day of this. And Nathan Drake, who he led here in a roundabout way, ended up doing that, which was really cool.
I never thought of it that way, actually. That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
I never thought of it. They were really kind of working towards the same goal, and they accomplished it together. So, I imagine as Nate, I would feel even closer to Sir Francis Drake than I had before this whole journey even started.
Definitely. That's a really good point, Ryan. I hadn't thought of it that way. I think that really wraps it up with a bow.
No, it's okay.
Cool.
It's
That's
totally
so
fine.
It's really cute. It's really cute. Yeah, I know. I think overall, Uncharted is a great story. I think the only thing I wish had been better. I love the characters. I love Nate and Elena. Sully are fantastic. I think they dropped the ball a little bit with the bad guys. I would love to see an Andy Raja kind of come into power. Maybe kill Roman. And, he kind of takes over the situation. He's this really brash bad guy that kind of makes mistakes, and that'll lead to his downfall. And that would have been kind of more interesting, I think. But overall, it's not a big deal for the story. I think what Ryan, you just put it perfectly, that Nate is finishing Sir Francis Drake's story, and that kind of is a beautiful ending. And he's also kind of, quote unquote, found love. Or not quote unquote. Nate has kind of found love in this situation, or at least it kind of alludes to that he and Elena are now kind of feeling romantic feelings for one another. And Sully's alive, which is awesome. He's a good guy. So it kind of just wraps it all up in this perfect package that is probably too good to be true in the real world, but it just feels so good to watch on screen.
Yeah. They just have perfectly captured that movie feel that these games do. And I think these are more engaging than movies, at least for me personally. They capture this kind of a roller coaster ride of an adventure in such a great way, and it's so satisfying.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, Uncharted, I think we all agree. Great story.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, it's fantastic. And I think we're super excited to cover the future games as well. I'm hoping we continue forward in the future with these games, and Adam, hopefully you'll join us for the other Uncharted
Yeah,
games
that
as
would be
well.
great.
Of course.
You've been, yeah.
Yeah, be more than happy to.
It'd be awesome. This was fantastic. Having you as our first guest has been great, Adam, and because you brought a fantastic game for us to cover. It's really enjoyable because we all got to do lines together through it, which is a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm super looking forward to Uncharted 2 and 3 and 4, obviously. Like, they're all such great games. But yeah, Adam, thank you so much for being our first guest on the podcast. You've been a great pleasure to have. Is there anything that you would like to promote to the storygoers listening?
If you guys are interested in naval history, I have a Navy history Instagram and blog that I've started. It's called Knots About History, KNOTS About History. So feel free to check it out. Pretty cool stories and nerd out with me as we
literally
share
Adam
cool
is the
pictures and
person
stuff.
I know the most, who I know knows the most about history. Like, he is just he knows his stuff. So if storygoers, if you are a huge history buff, I highly recommend you follow him and see all the greatness he puts on his page. Is literally, it's fascinating. As someone who I enjoy history, but I'm not super good at remembering it and being super into it. I still really enjoy what Adam brings to the table because it's all very interesting and relatable stuff. So highly recommend it. Next week we are going to have our second DLC episode.
Yes.
And
I'm so excited for this one.
Right. Yeah, me too. Do you want to announce what our topic is for that episode?
So for December, our DLC episode is Game of the Year. Right?
Game of the Year. Game of the Year for
stories.
story.
Yeah, our favorite stories from this year. A lot of times, a lot of game podcasts do Game of the Year stuff. We're going to focus on story games. So there are some games that I played this year that I have loved so much, and put insane amounts of time into, but there isn't enough of a story there for me to focus on that. So we're going to focus just on the stories that kind of connected with us. And Eric, I do want to ask, and we can ask this off or on, is this game stories that we've played this year, or game
I
stories
would probably
that
say
came
game
out
stories
this
we
year?
played, just so we know. I think it's more of a personal choice rather than the overall industry standard. I think it's what game stories really stuck with us. I think would be cool. Adam, you won't be on the episode obviously, but if you could pick a game story that you think is game of the year for you right now, what would it be? Sorry, putting you on the spot really hard right now.
That's a really good question. I did get a chance to play Ghost of Tsushima. Very story driven before my PlayStation wrapped out. So yeah, I didn't get to finish it, but I loved the game.
Oh no!
So I'm hoping to get a
yeah. I think you would like the ending story of that. It was very well done.
I'm hoping to get
opinion.
Valhalla. I have it. So no joke. I ordered Valhalla for PS5. I have the game. I just don't have the system. But it was on sale. Amazon. I got it for $49 instead of, I think it was $69 or something like that. So yeah, so
60,
I ordered it for $49.
Yeah.
So it's waiting. I just haven't played it yet.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough. Yeah. I know. I keep seeing on Instagram and stuff and Twitter, people are the PS5s are up on this website, and I'll go to it, and it's sorry, this page is not active anymore, and it's come on,
And then you go on eBay, and it's
it's
$1,500.
Yeah, it's impossible right now.
I'm screw you guys.
I know, it's crazy. The scalpers are getting beat up for their
Hilarious.
PS5s. It's insane right now, and Xboxes. But yeah, it's pretty. That is kind of ironic in a sense, but yeah. So next week our DLC episode is Game of the Year Story Edition. So story goers, if you have a Game of the Year for the stories that you think you would like to bring to the table, please email us at talesfromthecartridge@gmail.com. All of the E's are 3s. And also comment on Instagram, Twitter, DMS. Let us know what you think about your Game of the Year, story-wise, and about Uncharted. What did you think about the game? We'll read those on the next episode. So, but yeah, I guess without further ado, we'll end. Adam, thanks again for joining us. You've been fantastic.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Seriously, thank you.
Yeah. I'm very glad that you brought Sully to the table. You did a fantastic job.
I was just saying,
He did a really good job with Sully.
Yeah, he's really good. I'm very excited for Uncharted 3, and for your Sully to come back for Uncharted 3. That'd be a great time. So, And then, and also, storygoers, if you can, leave us if you feel nice and all warm and tingly inside. I'm on the.
Don't give them the option, Eric. They
have
don't
to
have
give
the
us a
choice
5-star
anymore.
rating or else. Wait, what are you doing 4 for? What do you? No, why 3? Go back to 5. Yeah, if you do feel it in your bones to give us a 5-star rating, we would really appreciate it. Obviously, we're at 4 5-star ratings right now. Not to brag, humble brag. We want to keep the record going. So, but yeah. So thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week for the next story. Bye.
Bye.